to the LinkedIn Live. Absolutely delighted for everybody that's tuning in. Now, I'm surrounded by two amazing ladies. They have been nominated for the Thrive with Mentoring Mentor of the Year, so I feel incredibly honoured. And so today we're here to be talking about their experience that they've had as a mentor for Thrive with Mentoring. Now, this is all leading to an amazing event that's going to take place on the 30th of May here in Zurich, where I'm located, at the Mandarin Oriental Hotel. And we're going to be having the annual award ceremony. So you've got a few more weeks to wait to find out whether or not you're going to be winning that award. But I wish you all the very best. Now, the ceremony is all going to be based around the theme of our moment of lift. And for my own personal experience of being a mentor and a mentee, I can definitely say that being part of a mentoring program is my moment of lift. It really, truly does seem to give me wings. So I'm delighted to be surrounded by two absolutely fabulous mentors who have been nominated by their mentees and obviously done a fabulous job. So welcome to Gabriella and to Jana. So let's get started. So maybe if you would like to just quickly introduce yourself. I'll quickly introduce myself, which I haven't done. So I'm Emily. I was in corporate for 30 years plus, and I've now set up my own coaching business, specializing in career transitions. So let's start with Gabriella.
So I'm Gabriella Benko. I live in Paris, France. I'm originally Hungarian. I work as an executive and team coach. And before starting this journey over 10 years ago, I had my own companies and I was in strategic and management consulting.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Jana?
Yeah, my name is Jana Zimova. I'm originally Czech, but living abroad for many years. I'm finance person, finance expert. I used to work for a big corporate for more than 20 years, and now I have my own company.
Great, thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so I've set up some questions, and it's all around this notion of lift. So we're going to start with L, the first word of lift. So it's around listening, and certainly my own experience of mentoring and being a mentee as well is this notion of listening. I think is incredibly important. Listening to your mentee. So let me ask you to share about these first moments that you had with your mentee and what you were listening out for. Gabriella, if I could start with you.
Yes, thank you. And I really feel privileged that I can be in this space with you. And I'm really grateful to Thrive with Mentoring because it connects us with mentees, other mentors. So it's a fantastic community. So I was thinking about listening. I really love this topic. And what do I listen? I listen first to the language and how they talk, what words they use, how they talk about themselves. And because language is technology, it brings what is in our minds to be visible to the exterior. And words matter, and how we talk to ourselves matter because it can shrink us or expand us. And also I listen to energy shifts and also what is not being said, the silence, the hesitation. And also because I had the privilege to work already, I have been with mentees for 5 years through Thrive with Mentoring. Wow. You know, the gap between capability and confidence and just listening, creating that space where they can discuss what their aspirations, goals, challenges before giving any advice if they need my advice. Many times they don't.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I think the silence for me is just so powerful, and something that before I embarked my own coaching training, and do my own mentoring, I hadn't sort of realized about it actually, I have to say. And silence I used to find quite threatening. But listening and observing what happens in that silence is, particularly when you ask a question, is incredibly powerful. And it sounds like me, you have the sort of the antennae going off and sort of listening to, the negative space. What is it? What is not being said? And that silence is incredibly important. So thank you very much for sharing that. Jana, what about you? What does listening mean to you?
Yeah, just not to repeat, but I definitely agree. It's super powerful. And then especially the active listening. Yeah. I used quite a lot this silence as well to let people even have a monologue, but trying to also show that I listen, but not only to words, but also like this body language, trying to also understand what kind of words are used, and what Gabriella mentioned also a little bit like self-reflection as well, how people talk about themselves, and then trying to in a way identify what are the fears of such person, and not confront them. That's not really nice word what I mean, but trying to get a little bit like understanding, do I really understand it right? But rather than speaking, it's always about the listening. And people also say, yeah, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should reflect this ratio also during our discussions. Yeah.
I
So
love that. I hadn't really thought about that ratio, but yeah, incredibly important. Yeah. No, listening is just so incredibly powerful. Yeah, and hearing things and observing, really gets to the heart of often what the mentees are not actually saying. It's very much hidden, isn't it? And you're sort of digging for it. So,
and I sorry,
yeah, carry on. No, please go ahead. Yeah.
One more thing is about like building trust. It's also about listening. If people can share what they are up to, what is their fear, what they are thinking of, and so on, it creates very solid base that you can build on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I fully agree with that. Yeah, it's that sort of reassurance. And when you sort of start to get people you understand, so if you feel that you've been listened to, because many of us feel that we're not listened to, I think,
Exactly.
this sort of chaotic world where listening has sort of fallen away, and that privacy of just you and them, and having that ability just to to listen is actually quite a gift. I think it's having that moment of stillness where you actually do have that moment to, and time and space and stillness to actually listen to what that person said. And when they recognize that, yeah, as you rightly said, it builds that wonderful trust. Yeah. So then they reveal more. Yeah. Super. Okay. So the next letter in lift is I. So we're going to talk about investment. And obviously, when you commit and you sign up to Thrive with Mentoring, you're committing some of your time. Absolutely. So, so for you, what did showing up actually look like for you, particularly on days perhaps that you're particularly hectic and busy? And I'm sure you weren't just showing up and investing in the moments when you were met one-to-one. I'm absolutely convinced that you were working for them outside of that sort of one-to-one session as well. So you could share your insights there, Jana?
Yeah, I would say it's about setting the priorities. Otherwise, and then I talk to myself, not to anyone else. It's about, okay, this is my priority, yes or no. If I decide yes and I go for the mentoring, then I need to be dedicated to that person, to that situation, and so on. So that is absolutely kind of no go that I would change, unless there is like private issue with for example, kids and so on. But it's very unusual. Let's put it that way. So it's really kind of the dedication and showing the respect to the others. Of course, we could try, would you mind if we could postpone it by half an hour? If not, I stick to my schedule. But that I'm very responsible person. So for me, this if someone does it to me, then I somehow read it between lines that I'm not the priority. And this I don't want to show this kind of signal to anyone.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jana. Absolutely. And Gabriella?
Well, I'm building on what Jana said. Protecting time and the consistency, being flexible, but also I would add, being present and not perfect, as well as being there as a human, as in a holistic way, and not just as a professional.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, did you meet in person or did you meet online when you had your sessions, or was there a bit of a hybrid?
Both, hybrid.
Yeah, hybrid. Yeah. And was that the same for you, Gabriella? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's, sort of supports, this ability of us to be sort of present with the mentees as well, doesn't it? That we've got this hybrid situation. And I have to say, sort of pre-COVID, I was always a little bit suspicious about online coaching and mentoring. I don't know if you were too, but it actually does work, I have to say. And, that you can capture, the moments and the stillness online as well as you can in person. So I was suitably impressed with that, I have to say, because I was a little bit skeptical to begin with.
Yeah, and I would add that it's also kind of democratizes the differences between big cities and the rural areas. So we can connect through Visio and so on. So it's a great topic, but not for this session.
Yeah, no, exactly. We can drift. We can drift into other topics. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, so next letter in lift is F. So this forward, this shift moment. So this often is a very sort of powerful moment, and I'm convinced that we've all experienced those. So was there a particular moment when you were working with the mentee that you had where you saw something really shift, really move forward in how they were thinking or how they spoke or how they showed up to you? Was that like a huge epiphany moment that they had, or was it more sort of, little sort of steps that they were being able to move forward? Jonna, let's start with you.
Yeah, I would say there are two moments, and one is when they say, aha, I was not thinking about from that perspective. That's one that basically you gave, or there was a discussion about something and it gives them some thoughts for further elaboration. And the other one is more like that you can see, I'm not really sure I would do it. And suddenly, yes, I decided I will do it. Yeah, this shift like from not really being sure and suddenly you see, no, that's enough. But now I know what I want.
And did you, out of curiosity, did you see those moments in front of you, or did they need to go away and think about it? And it's when they came back to the next session that they had decided that they were actually going to adopt something that you had recommended or guided them towards?
I would say both. Yeah, really. Sometimes they just come back and said, yeah, last time I was talking about this, but I already, for example, done it. I was like, oh, okay, you already done it. And sometimes, yeah, but I really thought about it and I decided I will go for it.
Yeah, and that's really sort of the power of mentoring and coaching that I, certainly hadn't, sort of appreciated. I guess I was imagining that there was going to be this epiphany in the room and that you would recommend or suggest or share some of your own experiences, and that there would be sort of an instant adoption. But, clearly thinking about my own, times that I've sat in front of a mentor, you go away and you think about it and percolate and it's giving them that space and that moment to actually perhaps talk to other people about it. I'm convinced that they probably didn't agree in their own mind, but they had perhaps conversations with other people and came to the view that this is the way forward that they're going to adopt. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you, Jonna. Yeah. And Gabriella, how about you? Was there any particular moments? Was there the epiphanies or the little steps?
It's a very interesting question, and it doesn't. I don't know if it happens in the space when we are together, and mentoring doesn't happen during just a session. It's in between. And maybe even after. So. Or not just maybe, I know it happens after because it has an impact, a long-term impact. And it depends on the receiver end, on the mentee and their personality and how they change. I work a lot around applied neuroscience, brain science, so it needs time to create those new connections, unlearn things, also muscle up the new connections. But what I would say is a beautiful moment for also a mentor, and I imagine for the mentee, when the inner narrative shifts and there is a difference how they talk, there is a different energy, different focus, because there is this spark in the eyes, there is this positiveness, the solution focus. It's almost like getting on a helicopter and expanding your view, but being able to get down to the day to day. So it's a very different presence from them, and a very different mindset. So there is this big shift.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and clearly you're an expert in terms of the neural connections and the plasticity of being able to change, which is always a fascinating topic for me. And something that I've witnessed myself is often in the body language. We talked about that earlier, but they first arrive all curled up a little bit, and by the time that they leave after X number of sessions, they're actually physically walking taller, because they feel so much more confident in what they're now doing. They've got a plan. They may still be in that sort of what I call the messy middle, of not quite being able to determine or seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, but they've got a plan. And it's that notion of putting a plan in place where they can start to visualize where that plan may lead, which is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful to see that how they become daring to experiment, and failure becomes learning. So everything kind of reframed, and really just clarity on the direction, and deciding to go for it no matter what. Because life is messy, life is uncertain.
Yes,
there are
totally.
challenges, and yeah. It's
yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah, Jana, was that something else you want to add?
Yeah, just to see this, that a person is taking responsibility for its own life, for her own life in that respect. Yeah, it's like being from the victim in some situation, of course, not like generally, and then become like, no, I actually can change it. Yeah, maybe I cannot change the environment, but I can change this. I can change that. Yeah, and that is also a big shift, I would say.
Yes,
So
it is. It is
being really person whom you would like to be.
yes.
Well.
And it's giving yourself permission, isn't it, to be that person. And it always sort of, in my own mind, when I've been in that situation, when I've been mentored, why on earth didn't I give myself permission before? What on earth was blocking me? What was stopping me? Like I needed some sort of written signature from the headmaster or something that I needed to do something. But actually, I'm completely entitled to do this. I've got the skills, I've got the experience, I've got the know-how, I've got the courage now. So giving that permission to people and witnessing them step forward and step up is so rewarding. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so the next letter in lift is T. So takeaway. So what did you take away from your mentoring experience with Thrive with Mentoring that you really didn't expect? Gabriella, let's start with you this time.
I'm not very good at expectations, so I find them pretty limiting, even though, of course, we are humans, so many times we have expectations. So before vacation, we don't imagine there will be mosquitoes, right? So we are not thinking about that. So going back to the question, what I have learned during this journey is that presence and the quality of presence matters more than expertise or knowledge. People also don't appreciate how much they know. And we don't appreciate, I'm saying to myself, to everybody in this room and everybody who's listening, yes, you know more than you think. Yes, you have more to give than you think. And this is what I learned, that presence and And also the reverse mentoring element, that you learn as much. It's a mutual learning space. As much as you mentor, you are mentored by your mentee. And I learned a lot from my mentees in different areas. And also the beautiful thing when you hear that I'm going to do mentoring. So they say, so this ripple effect. So they become leavers and they want to give back. And this ripple goes further than you see. That's a fantastic feeling. And I learned that here listening to my mentees. And luckily, I keep contact with all my mentees from private mentoring, and I can see how they contribute to the community, to other communities, and to others. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. And could you give us one of the things that you learned? You talked about the reverse mentoring, and you learned a number of things from your mentee. Is there anything you can divulge without breaching any confidentiality?
Yeah, so I worked with someone who is now a very successful voice coach, and she does amazing things with her voice. And during our conversations, even though it was not about voice, I learned a lot from her about voice and the importance of voice. So this was, for example, a skill learning.
Yeah, perfect. I love that. And I had a similar situation, in fact, actually. My mentee was very, very good at marketing. And it's definitely not my forte or what I enjoy doing, I have to say. And I told her to be direct, be direct with me. Tell me, why that LinkedIn post or whatever didn't, go viral. Not that I'm looking for viral, but why was it not well engaged? And she was very direct with me, and I really, really appreciated it, I have to say. And I learned a lot from her. Yeah, and she was, very much encouraging me and pushing me to do things outside of my comfort zone. Yeah. And I'm just so appreciative, and a number of things that she mentioned to me, I feel myself sometimes slipping back into my old comfortable ways, and I think, no, she wouldn't say that. She would say, Emily, you need to do this. So yeah, I had a remarkable experience as well. Yeah. Jana, tell me about the takeaway.
For me, it's definitely this reverse mentoring, what you are talking about. Sometimes if I want to a little bit challenge, I also describe certain situation and they say, what would you do if you would be me? And then what kind of questions you would give me? And then suddenly I could see also even my own problem from different perspective. So I would say it's definitely powerful. And I did not expect that the mentoring would give me this. So that is one. The other one is like power of network. So it's not about mentor and mentee when it comes to this constellation, but it's about other mentors. So if you are stuck maybe with your mentee or with some other situation, you can actually ask, yeah, is anyone willing to walk with me for a while, and we can discuss, and then I can share. So this power of networking, it's incredibly great, I would say. Yeah. So my expectations were not really high. I would say I really want to try. I want to actually, being foreigner in these countries, like I want to make also some friends. I would like to explore a little bit what is outside of my big corporate that time, and then I suddenly say, oh, it's much better than I even thought that it could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It
but I'm
is. Yeah.
grateful for that. And then it's always, you also mentioned in Gabriela as well, that the roles could be switched. And it's so beautiful in a way. And then one more thing, it's about, and it's maybe not from the mentor perspective, but talking with people, with mentees, with other mentors and so on, don't be judgmental. Then I'm saying to myself, Yeah, it shifted me completely. Because I could see before, I don't know, a few years, 10 years, I don't know how long, it's basically my kind of truth. No, it's my point of view. But there could be different ones, and it doesn't mean they're wrong. No, before I make any judgment, I need to listen. I need to examine it. I need to elaborate and so on. So that was big benefit for me, which I did not really expect that I would gain.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it is incredible. It never ceases to amaze me, the power of mentoring, the whole mentoring experience. I just absolutely adore for multiple different reasons, but many of the ones that you've expressed here today. And I said that my mentee often goes out, looking taller and standing taller, but I really do too, because I just learned so much. And in fact, from my own personal perspective, I love to have mentees that come from a completely different world, to my own. And often when we go through the matching process, you know, should we put together people that are quite aligned, have similar backgrounds, or should we actually go for people that are very, very different? And I think one of the most powerful experiences I had actually was when my mentee came from a completely different background. I have a strong finance background. She came from academia, in a scientific subject which I was always the worst at school, and I had this little bit of anxiety before I started the relationship. What on earth am I going to do to be able to support her? But clearly, at the end of the day, our building blocks, our foundations are all sort of very, very similar. Yeah, so that's definitely a huge learning experience, and that's what is so enriching for me about the mentoring experience.
Just, Jana, I would like to come back to you and thank you for bringing this perspective that, there are, just acknowledging that there are lots of paths and different paths to the same to the same city, let's put it this way, to the same town. And one path is as valid as the other one. And just being able to see that. And I also heard, the self-compassion piece, that this path is my path and it's great, but I'm just building my experience in this. But thank you for that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the self-compassion. Yeah, it's such a strong, it's such an important topic. And knowing that this is your path. This is the place where I'm meant to be. This is my path. And this is the route that I will take. Yeah, it might take slightly longer or a different route to somebody else, but actually it's absolutely fine. Yeah, perfect. We've got about 3 minutes left, so we are a little bit short of the last question I've got, but I think it's important. So if someone here is listening and thinking about becoming a mentor, in fact also a mentee, and they're thinking, I'd love to do this, I'm not quite sure, am I qualified enough? What would you actually say to them right now? Jana, let's go with you first today.
Yeah, I would say, and no one is perfect, so don't wait for perfection. And on top of it, mentees, they don't need like perfect person. They need someone who is human, with mistakes, with experience, and so on. And then if you make a mistake, admit it and go on.
Love that. Yeah, that's so powerful. I love it. Gabriella.
So the fact that you are asking the question probably means that you are exactly the right person to be a mentor or mentee. And I just say, if not now, then when?
Exactly. There is no perfect. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's always a right moment. I mean, you've always got so much, that you can share with others. And I think it comes back to the first point that we were talking about, is about listening. It's listening. If you deeply listen to somebody, that sort of kicks off the whole process. So if you're worried and think that you may not be the right person to be a mentor, start listening skills. Start with that. Get comfortable with that. And then everything else just follows them naturally. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the conversation today. I've enjoyed it absolutely immensely. And the last thing for me to say is all the very best for the nominations. I will be there on the 30th of May. So I wish you all the very, very best with that, and your fellow nominees as well for Mentor of the Year. So if anybody's thinking about coming on the 30th, please do. It's at the Mandarin Oriental Hotel here in Zurich. It's going to be an absolutely fabulous evening. And you truly will feel that moment of lift when you leave. That is without any question at all. So thank you very much, ladies, today. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.